Good morning, everyone. We'll get started here in a few minutes. I'm trying to figure out how to make sure everybody can just enter the lobby, but Teams is not my favorite, so there we go. I think I got it. Of course, it didn't work. We just switched to Zoom for this very reason. It's kind of distracting. I don't know how to bypass people. Let people bypass the lobby. So try it one more time before we get started here. Yeah, that's why. Oh, that might help, might not. Well, we'll wait a couple more minutes, but I just want to welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to talk a little bit about PowerPoint. But first, I'm curious where everyone's from. This is a question that will come back into play later. So, feel free to answer. Let me know where you're dialing in from today. We're up here in snowy Minnesota. So the sun's up today, so maybe it'll melt. It's March is always kind of a weird month. There's all this, hope. The last couple months are pretty brutal. It's just so dark and snowy and wintry. I think when you watch these movies and they have like winter, the winter wonderland, all this stuff, it's fun in December, but January and February get very long. So we're all hoping and praying here for a quick spring. I don't ever believe that's stupid groundhog, but maybe it'll be a quick winter this year. So again, feel free to use the chat window. Let me know where you're calling in from. Teams is a very slow. Atlanta, GA. Okay. TF, you're from Lincoln. That's you're probably in the same. Oh, Iowa too. Same boat as me. Ready for this to be finished. I will be in Atlanta next week, so great. I appreciate everyone responding. I know it looks like we have a smaller group here today, but that's good. I don't need 100% response rate on this because, like I said, this question is going to come into play later. The irony, I'm going to get started now. So I did hit the record button. You'll be able to check it out later if you have colleagues who want to see it or you want to share it with someone else. Or if you'd like me to do it again for a larger group, I'm happy as well. But that's a question I like to ask at the beginning of every webinar. But in particular, this webinar, because I'm going to show you how to repurpose that question too. Today, we're going to talk about PowerPoints and how to, basically, I don't want to tell people to burn their PowerPoints to the ground, although I would never fault you if you did. I know they can be a bit frustrating for everybody. So we're going to talk about how to repurpose your PowerPoints into something that's more engaging. And there's other tools out there that you can do this with. We're going to use our tool today, obviously, but there's a number of different ways you can do it, and we'll show you a couple clever tricks today of how you can, get more out of your presentations, or quit leaning into your presentation. So the irony is that I'm going to be showing you a PowerPoint today. And the only reason I'm even showing you a PowerPoint is because we're going to show you how to make this PowerPoint and show you exactly what it's going to look like in a different format. So we'll get started here right now. Looking forward to chatting with everybody. Bring my allergy medicine. Yeah, my allergies have been terrible up here too. Raleigh, North Carolina. I wish I was there. Esther, that sounds awesome. My grandma's name is Esther. So again, we're going to talk about lecture, what we can do beyond that. And I like to pick on PowerPoint, but I think some people do get locked into a certain formula a lot of times. But before we get started, I want to know a couple things. What's going on with your training program? What's your class look like? But more specifically, what are some challenges that you have? And when I ask that question, I have, sort of in the back of my head, post-COVID, right? So when COVID first started, we had all these new challenges. I have to do a virtual class now, and I've never done it before. This is stuff that we've been trying to get our management to prepare for, but now we have to do it. So I think a lot of good ideas that people had before were finally able to use, or in some cases, you had to come up with new stuff. Now, as we move closer to, people going back to work, there's this hybrid model now where some people are doing e-learning, some people are in a classroom, probably less so in a classroom, but starting to trickle back. Some are still virtual and some are both, right? Where you have, hopefully a somewhat captive audience in front of you, but then you also have a webcam that you're staring at, kind of like today. So what are some challenges that you guys have in your training? Feel free to chat here. This is another question that's going to come back into play later. So I'm looking forward to hearing some feedback, in our chat bubble here on Teams. So I see some people are typing. Teams is not my favorite application. I think this is the last time I'll ever use Teams. We switched to Zoom. Not that Zoom is the end all be all of webinars either, but okay. COVID was actually a blessing for our association. We were 100% in class pre-COVID, and our instructors were not open to being virtual. Yeah, I think, and I sort of alluded to that too. I think a lot of organizations, even ours, we're forced to move into the 21st century here. So people, that had ideas or wanted to do things were forced to do those things. And I think in some organizations, it was a bit of a blessing. In ours, it was as well. I definitely like working from home more than you can see my pictures in the background than I did working from an office. And to be honest, I don't think my work is, changed. In fact, it's maybe gotten better. So, but training, I think now, again, some unique opportunities to change some things as well as we move kind of into a classroom. I think, the virtual learning, hopefully everyone's figured out by now, at least figured out how to log into a Teams meeting or a Zoom or whatever. But how do you engage those people? Because a lot of times, you'll talk in a classroom and you get crickets. You can kind of pick on people. Hey, Tim, I see that you're not answering. What do you think? In a virtual meeting, it's a little harder to do. You can do that to a certain extent, but it's a little bit harder. Kind of the flow changes. It's hard to see facial expressions. So there's a lot of new challenges, I think, as we move closer to this, sort of hybrid model. I'm going to talk a little bit about lecture first. And I don't think lecture in general is all that necessary. And if it is, it should be done in very small doses, because I don't think, especially if you're training a younger generation, a younger workforce, they're not easy to engage. So in the case of PowerPoint slides, I personally think they kind of hold you back. And I have sort of a cheeky question here. What's your favorite lecture? Why was it good? Because, there's not a lot of lectures unless there's a topic that you're specifically interested in that you like. And in a lot of cases, we're creating material that people aren't excited to learn. And I think that, that can be a little limiting with the slides. And in particular, I think my biggest problem with PowerPoint is that a lot of people will create these, I always call them slidezillas, these 60 slide PowerPoints. And I said that to a customer a few days ago. I'm like, slidezilla, I'm like 60 slides. And she's like, 60? Are you kidding? That's nothing. Ours is 200. And I was like, oh my God, you don't need a whole computer to hold the memory on that. So the problem is when you make those slides that are, 50, 100, 150, 200 slides, you're locked into it. It handcuffs you, meaning that you've spent so much time building this content that you're not going to do anything else. And if you have staff, there may be some people, maybe it's not you, maybe it's other people in your department that spent 2-3 months building these monstrosities. Now you're locked into it, right? So I've built this giant slide. Now I'm going to talk about this, and then the next slide, and then I talk about this, and then I talk about that. It doesn't allow for any spontaneity. And so I think the main reason it holds people back is because you're handcuffed to that. You're not having those unique interactions. You're not getting feedback. You're not able to uncover knowledge gaps because you're so focused on, okay, this is the slide where I talk about this, and then this is the slide where I talk about that. This is where we have a discussion. This is where we break out. And so it just becomes robotic and a little bit formulaic, whereas you're not improving that content. And I think that the PowerPoint, is used as a crutch that way to halt that, I think training development. So what else can you do? In our case, we talk a lot about games. We have other products that we sell, but I think ultimately one of the big things is creating real-time feedback at any avenue. So in the case of polling, in the case of games, getting that feedback and finding out where people are at real time is important. If you're teaching something, you're doing lectures, tests at the end of the week, you're finding out that information too late. So if you can find it out, if you can uncover those knowledge gaps right away, using something like a game to make it fun, or using something like polling, to break up that, the robotic formula of slide, lecture, question. Great, because it's going to allow you to go back and edit the content that you've built and make it more engaging. And we'll show you how to do that today and how to convert some of your Slidezillas, or spin the fat off of them in a second here. So the other thing I think is important is, again, that analytical part of it, right? Using that knowledge that you have to make your presentations better. Just because you spent 6 months building a 200 slide PowerPoint doesn't mean it's good. And I'm not trying to pick on anyone's PowerPoint, but if you don't have feedback, and if you don't have real feedback, and not just from, the eager students that like to raise their hand every time, you don't know if that content that you're teaching is good. And in some cases it might be great, in some cases it might not be great. So using the analytics to do that, and we'll talk about how you can do that with a lot of tools that are out there, and specifically our tools, of course. But first I'd like to show you how to do it, and this is kind of the important part, and we're going to deviate from PowerPoint now. So turn off your PowerPoint brain. Let me just double check if there's any questions here. Like I said, Teams is not my favorite. No, best lectures remove barriers of learning like lack of confidence in the topic of the audience. Yeah, it's tough to have a good lecture. So I'm going to show you how to export your PowerPoint. Just get away from it. So in the case of those giant Slidezillas, again, not advocating that you burn your PowerPoint to the ground, but maybe trim the fat off of it. This is how you're going to export those slides. So I'm using a Mac, so it's a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and, minimize my PowerPoint. I'm going to see, I already got turned around here in PowerPoint. You're going to go to File, and you're going to go to Export. And the big thing is to change the file type to either a PNG file, it's a portable networks graphic, it's just a little higher quality, or a JPEG. And so I'm going to do that here in my Mac. Click Export. And it's going to ask you how you want to save it. You want to save one slide, or do you want to save all of them? I like to save all of them because I think it allows me to kind of just pick through the ones I want. So we'll go ahead and click PNG, and I'll click Save Every Slide, or you could also do JPEG. Click Export. You can see I've already saved it, so I'll skip that step. And now I'm going to minimize my PowerPoint. We'll come back to this page in a second. And here's my folder. So I have a folder full of these questions, these slides that I did before. Keep in mind that if you have interactive things on your PowerPoint, it's just going to create them into a static image. So you may need to re-upload them. And now I'm going to show you how to use these slides in a more interactive experience. Like I said, there's a number of other tools out there. There's polling tools. There's interactive slides that you can purchase. We happen to sell one, and we're called, of course, C3 SoftWorks. Basically, we make games that you can use in a couple formats. And today we're going to talk about one particular format. but basically outputting games into an interactive experience. So these are all a bunch of games that we have. We'll circle back to this at the end. Same with these. But today we're going to talk about Tally because it's an interactive presentation tool. There's similar products out there. I'll kind of go over why I think ours is really good later. But just to show you how you can use these interactive tools to make your PowerPoints more exciting. One of the things I like about ours in particular is that because you are able to export these PowerPoint slides, it's pretty easy to drag and drop them into this format. So let's just kind of show you what it looks like to do that right now. And so I'm going to go ahead and create a question, not even a question, I'm just going to add a slide. And you'll see here in our system, it gives you some options. This one says slide, but you also have different kinds of questions. We'll come back to this. But I just want to show you how easy it is to bring content into a system like this. So this is my, I forget what question this one is, doesn't matter. What else then, right? So I'll drag that in. Now my PowerPoint uploaded directly to this format. So pretty easy as, just dragging and dropping that content in there. And let me show you what an interactive presentation could look like in this format. This is a game I built, and if you have a cell phone handy, we'll go ahead and play it. We'll play the exact same PowerPoint presentation that I just did, but we're going to do it in a different format. So our product is called BravoZone, and this is my Repurpose PowerPoint presentation. If you have a cell phone handy, you can open up your camera. I'm going to have you scan this QR code. And if you don't want to use it, if you want to use your camera, you can also go to that link there, bravozone.us, and enter in that ID. I'm going to do it as well, even though I know all the answers. Almost not fair. And then, looks like you guys are getting logged in there. And I'm going to start it in a little bit here, but if you want to join later, if you're, coming late to the party, you can go to this bravozone.us and punch in that ID. I think there's about, how many is there? 7 on here? There's about 10 people on the call here, right? Just double check. Oh, Teams, you're my favorite. Microsoft. If I can just have no Microsoft things, I'll be happy. Oh boy, well, you'll skip it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. If you want to join the session a little bit later, you can open up a tab either in your browser, or you can use your phone or an iPad or whatever's fun for you. And you can copy this bravozone.us, enter in that ID 0006. Okay, looks like we have a few people kind of joining right here. Anyone else that wants to join that I haven't signed in yet? My Teams is being a little unfriendly, so no. Okay, we'll start the session. And remember at the beginning of our session, I had asked everyone, where are you from? You can see that it's the exact same question. I'm just asking it in a different format. So if make sure you hit the submit button at the bottom, just one of those little things there. So click on your home state. If you're from a different country, just click on a state that you like. No, not everyone's American. Or whatever food looks good. That might be a good one. And the thing I really like about this format, again, it's just a kind of silly icebreaker question. It's really not that important. It's a very Midwestern, see with some Midwestern people here. A very Midwestern type of, question. Hey, where are you from? Then we can have a little conversation about it. The beauty is when I asked that question earlier, I only had 3 people tell me where they were from. Here I had 88% participation rate. The beauty of it is that I can, again, give you something more fun to use for this engagement. Plus, I can also offer an incentive, right? You get 100 points just for answering the question, whether you're right or wrong. This image mapping could be used a lot of different ways. It could be just clicking on the right image. I know we have some nurses that use this one for determining patient sickness. Which one of these patients is exhibiting signs of jaundice? And they click on the guy with the yellow eyes. Here, I'm just having a little bit of fun with it, trying to get more engagement, which I have. I've just shown you right away. Before I had 3 responses, now I'm at 88%. So All over the map here. Looks like Esther from Raleigh, like you had mentioned, right? So now we know a little bit more about Raleigh. I've never eaten at a Bojangles, but I have been to a Chick-fil-A. And Tina, I see Godfathers. We have those in Minnesota as well. In and out, I have yet to try. I've never been to California, which is odd because I've been to maybe 40 states. So, and I don't know Made Right either. I don't know if that's just an Iowa thing, but you'd think they maybe would have them. But anyway, again, a little bit of fun with the same question. Before, I could talk about the weather or whatever. Here we talk about fast food. But, the important thing is I'm getting a lot more feedback. And I think that's what every instructor is looking for. So again, everyone gets a point for that one. Good job. We'll hide the leaderboard for now. And then I have my introduction slide like I had before. I just removed the background, make it a little bit different. Today I'm going to talk about lecture and how to create more engaging presentations, right? The same content I had before, just in this new format. Then I can ask that same question I asked before. What are some challenges that you have with your training program? It's a question that I think is really important for us because, if you're checking out our webinars or you're checking out our software, we want to know it's a fit, right? Oh, my training is boring, and make sure you hit the submit button as well. Perfect. I just typed in an answer too. But with this one, it's again, we had 2 people respond to that question before, which is fine. But here, look, we're already at 70%. I could put a timer on there. I'm also incentivizing you, right? You get 100 points if you answer, just for answering. And the feedback's already much better. And again, it's an important question for us. We want to know what are some things that we can help you with, if at all. So people are not engaging, instructor training, participation, right? This is great feedback. This is exactly what I wanted when I asked it in the Teams chat window. So time, that's a huge one, right? Nothing that's perfect, that's me. Looking to make presentations more interactive, right? Well, hopefully you came to the right place, Esther. So I think this is a great example. I love asking these questions, sort of the before and after, right? Hey, I asked it in the Teams chat window. I got 2 people. Here we got, almost everybody. We got 80%. This is the formula that I like to follow with games and with our training material, even the self-paced content, right? Here's a slide, right? We'll click on it. And if you click on your phone, you can kind of zoom into. So if you want to have that, sort of easier to read, you can do that. But again, we already talked about this, so I'm not going to, double the conversation, but I'm going to talk about lecture, why I don't think it's interactive, how I think it handcuffs presenters, etc. But if I want to add a question to know if there's understanding, I can do that here, right? So what's the main reason John thinks lectures hold the presenter back? And again, just because I'm teaching the material, just because I'm talking about it, doesn't mean everyone is listening. And so this is a great way to check for understanding. Again, gathering that data as you go through it. 100% feedback, right? That's really good. So I get those percentages, right? Okay, I see 40% think the answer is B, and this gives me that opportunity to have a unique conversation each time, because maybe those percentages are different in each class, right? Why do you guys think the answer is B? Well, I think I remember John saying it. Yeah, well, 30% said E. And there's clearly a knowledge gap, right? We have 50% and 40% on one answer. So why do you guys think E is the right answer? And again, you're having that dialogue. This really, really helps you. And I think it's one of the most important things with any tool that has polling. Ours, really leans into the converting your lecture material into this format. But again, this is where you uncover those knowledge gaps. This is where you actually, hopefully, earn your money, right? You're able to teach right here, right? Actually, the answer is B, and here's why. And then you can have that teachable moment, right? Where you find the knowledge gap, you uncover it, and then you actually are able to teach it, right? So, hey, this is where John said it handcuffs the presenter, et cetera, using that same content. I love that as a formula. I think, our software or other polling software out there, and I don't know enough about some of the other tools out there. But I know a lot of people use Kahoot. It's kind of another staple. I don't know if they have these summary screens, but to me, gathering that data and then using the data for something, right, is really important. So these summary screens, these lecture materials that you've already built, not only does it save you time, you don't have to rebuild it, but you're actually able to find out if people understand it and sort of remediate that problem. Just a couple more questions. Organizations require real-time analytics to know what's happening across their business. Why could training be any different? What is the main reason data is still important to presenters? We got any Trekkie fans out here? This might be a little extra funny. It's kind of a nerd question, but I guess I'm a little bit of a nerd. All right. And again, this could be a poll. It doesn't necessarily have to be a right or wrong, but right, everyone says D, so clearly that was an area where I did good. So it looks like Kia's in the lead. If we want to revert back to the leaderboard, let my attendees know. I guess it could be D. I think I chose D actually. So my questions aren't that good. Again, I use my PowerPoint slide to summarize the content as well. So I think that's a really good formula to follow. We'll do one more question. Games are only good for icebreakers. I just kind of like this picture. So if you have videos, you have GIFs, you can put those in here as well. I know a lot of people watch a quick video. Again, you have the questions to check for understanding. I think that's really helpful. Good job, Paul. I chose security to make it more dramatic. Create interactive experiences that people remember. All right, it's a tie. You guys all did really good. Looks like we had 4 people get them all right. So to reiterate, one of the things that I really like about that is, again, like I mentioned, taking those handcuffs off, being allowed to have a spontaneous moment, to use analytics, to use all the stuff that you have in front of you, to squeeze as much as you can out of your participants. One of the formulas that I really like to have with our software in particular is we use Tally as a presentation tool like we did today. But the nice thing about our system is there's also a question library and a media library. So if you want to repurpose that content, it's really easy to do that. So in a lot of cases, people will use Tally to present the information and then drag some questions over into a fun format and then use the games as a review tool. So using that same polling data, getting the same feedback, you're able to track that return on that ROI, right? Hey, this is where we were at the presentation. Here's where we were at the review at the end of class. And then 2 days later, Spark and Whirl are designed to be kind of a micro-learning quiz tool. You can drag those same questions into a Spark quiz. Hey, send it out. We had a training session on Monday. We'll send this out on Thursday. Hey, we just want to see where you're at, see if you remember anything. And then, again, double check that understanding again throughout that process. So I think the cyclical part of that is really cool, and one that I think makes our software, I don't want to say better than others, but I think it makes that that you being able to actually teach and determine whether or not that information is useful, the primary goal of how we use our software. I'm going to snake back over here to my PowerPoint because I don't have this question on there, but it's just a quick little thank you with my contact information. I'm going to probably send you guys a follow-up quiz. Like I said, I like to send these Spark quizzes afterwards. Yeah, you don't get more NC than Bojangles. Canada, but it's California because it's warmer here. Do you guys have any questions for me? I mean, hopefully, worst case, I gave you guys some new ideas for your training program. I think, too often we get sucked into these PowerPoint, these monsters that kind of just take over our life. And it doesn't have to be that way. Each class can have its own personality. I know sometimes we get these classes that are fun and energetic, and other times we get these classes that are, filled with the wallflowers. So the games sort of force everyone to be involved. And if you do have a hybrid class, God help you, where you have the camera, who knows how many people, and you have the classroom, it's a really good way to bring everybody together. see some people are typing here. I know Teams does not have the best stat feature, but want to make sure everyone can see me. Can you mix and match format games in one presentation? Yeah, a lot of people do that. You could use the games. Oh, thanks for that. Always a big hit. I'm hoping to add some new stuff soon. Yeah, send me an email, Lynn. I'd be happy to help you. If you have some of the old content, I can help you convert it as well. So I'm going to minimize this so I can get my email on there, cover my other mug. But yeah, if you have old content, you are able to convert it into this new format as well. Again, same with the PowerPoint stuff, right? Drag and drop that over there, make it more fun. Happy to help you. Your last name is very Canadian too. I guess I could have guessed that. Anyone else have questions? Like I said, hopefully I gave you some new ideas. Let me know if I did. I really like to hear that from people. If you're like, hey, wow, that sounds really cool, or no, you're a knucklehead, wasted my time today. Let me know that too, so I can adjust. I appreciate it. I don't want to do a full hour today. I know hour webinars can be kind of brutal, so I just really wanted to make this short and sweet. Show you what a presentation looks like in this other format. Like I said, there's other tools out there that can do this as well. I think ours is great because you can mix and match it. Again, you could do the presentation, you can do the games, you can do the micro learning. It's kind of an all-in-one stop. But again, some of you may have other tools out there, like I know Metameter is kind of similar to Tally, Poll Anywhere. I don't think they have the games like we do, but I would still suggest trying to get that PowerPoint stuff. Trim the fat off those monsters. So. Any other questions? Thanks, Esther. Any other questions for me? I mean, like I said, if you have some new ideas, I'd love to hear them too. We get our best ideas from our customers. One of our EMS instructors actually started using the games. I think he used the Jeopardy kind of formatted game in lieu of his PowerPoint. So he didn't even use Tally. He just used Jeopardy. And we're like, hey, we're going to put the slides in before and after the questions on Jeopardy. And that's going to be my presentation. He loves it. So that's where I got the idea, and that's where, as a company, we sort of shifted and tried to make things more, easy to build, and hopefully faster. I know someone talked about their time too, so we want to make sure that's there as well. That's pretty much it for today. Again, thank you for your time. If you're interested in trying the software, if you've never used it before, send me an email. We'll also send you some propaganda as well if you want to reply that way. I'll send you a game as well. We can kind of rehash these same questions in a different format to kind of show you what the self-paced looks like. But if you want to try it out, if you've used the software before, you think it looks cool, give me a call. We're happy to help. Jump through all the hurdles you guys have. I know sometimes those budget ones are kind of fun too, but I appreciate everyone's time. I'll stick around in case you guys have questions, but have a great day. Like I said, we'll try to, I don't want to do my full hour here. We'll give you some time to get through your work. Yeah, Lynette, let's chat. Be happy to help. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time. Have a great day. Yeah, take care.